It's AC Milan in the Champions League in 2 days' time for Newcastle. It's a very important game, but we've got a very big decision on our hands. It's the goalkeeping department, which is very, very undermined right now. Do we stick with Martin Dubravka, who now has conceded 7 goals in 2 games, who doesn't look like the goalkeeper he once was? Or do we turn to KARIUS, who's only played 1 competitive game for Newcastle in the Carabao Cup final? We're going to talk about that, look at some new names in January, and of course, Newcastle United have actually been trying to pursue a new goalkeeper, and we think that Martin Dubravka has been carrying an injury, and it's also been reported that. Without further ado, people, let's get into the video. Right then, lads and lasses, how we're doing, and welcome back to the channel. It's probably the most talked about sort of thing conflicted with Newcastle right now. Apart from the injuries and the fatigueness, it's the goalkeeping department. What do we do? Because Martin Dubravka, look, you can't concede 7 goals in 2 games, and half of that is kind of partially to blame with the defence. I mean, against Tottenham Hotspur, there was about 7 to 8 balls getting crossed inside the box in the space of 20 minutes. The defence was invisible yesterday. Honestly, it wasn't great whatsoever. But Dubravka can't be blamed for every single one of that. 2 of them he probably made a mistake, but it could have been absolutely much more from Spurs. I think he made 7 saves that game, which he did play half decent, but it's just the fact that he did concede 4. You can't concede 7 goals in 2 games. I don't believe Pope conceded 7 goals in the last 8 games or something like that. Honestly, something needs to be sorted out there. It's just another pity on our injury problems. But could we turn to KARIUS, who I do think could do a half-decent job for Newcastle? I mean, in the Carabao Cup final, conceded 2 goals, but he didn't look too bad. Let's take a look at what Daniel Wales, a local sports journalist, reported on X today. This is what he said. Newcastle United are actively pushing for a new goalkeeper in January. We already knew this with names like Aaron Ramsdale being mentioned. Of course, the big one, David De Gea, who would come on a free. In Man United, it was reported that he was on 350 grand a week. Reportedly 350 grand a week. He won't get anywhere near that at Newcastle. We have a fantastic wage structure right now, which I don't see us breaking. Never mind for a 31-year-old David De Gea. Look, he's not the worst goalkeeper, but I wouldn't dare pay that much for him. Of course, he knows he'll not get anywhere near that coming to a club like Newcastle, where we've got a very good wage structure and balance. Bruno being the highest paid player for 160 grand a week. He won't be breaking that anytime soon. Anyways, Dubravka, nursing hidden shoulder injury. What? This is what has kind of got my mind boggled. So yes, Daniel Wales did say Dubravka is nursing a hidden shoulder injury. Something's got to be up with KARIUS. Eddie Howe must not trust KARIUS whatsoever. If he's choosing an injured Dubravka over KARIUS, that is pretty worrying. It looks like KARIUS is kind of, apart from Mark Gillespie, of course, who respectively doesn't really have a say in this, he is kind of the last straw. I mean, to play an injured player over a fully fit player, it's a big worry, but for me, I genuinely think KARIUS is okay. Anyways, 7 goals conceded in the last 2 games, as we all know. It's not good enough, is it? Yes, the defence is to blame, but a couple of them was his own fault, and he just doesn't look like the diving and sort of Martin Dubravka. Of course, that could be subject to this shoulder injury, which we've never even heard of so far, but for my opinion, give KARIUS a chance. Now, we're going to take a look at KARIUS's only performance from Newcastle. Yes, it come nearly a year ago now, but it was in the Carabao Cup final, and this is a man who's been absolutely slated his whole career. He made that one of the most infamous mistakes in world football history. Honestly, he probably was as well. It was at the Champions League final against Real Madrid. I can't remember the exact year. It was from 2017 to 2020, I believe it was. It was one of them years. But he was infamous for it. I mean, it was some pretty bad errors. Let's get that straight. I think you give the ball straight to Benzema, and he kicked it and went straight to Benzema again, and he dropped out of his hands from a Bale free kick. Honestly, it's very bad to make a mistake like that in a big game. But look, he stepped up to the plate not long after that. Of course, it was very long after that, but not long after that, in competitive games, he then played for Newcastle in that Carabao Cup final. And look, for a man to have that much weight on his shoulders, for that to be your last remembered game, of course, he went to Mainz and on a free in Newcastle. He stepped in a cup quarter final for Newcastle, which we hadn't been in a cup final in however long it was. What was it, 20 years or something? And we hadn't won a trophy in 60 plus years. The weight on his shoulders, and he genuinely played good as well. Yes, he maybe could have done better for one of the goals, but look, it's not all to blame on him. For that game in itself, he made 8 saves that game. For a man who hadn't played football in a very long time, I don't want to say he looks like safe hands, because of course no third choice keeper, no matter who you are, even if you're prime Barcelona with Messi and Xavi and Iniesta in the team, your third choice goalkeeper isn't going to be good. Do you know what I mean? As respectable as you want to be, your third choice goalkeeper is third choice for a reason. Martin Dubravka, I thought, was the best second backup goalkeeper in the league. Doesn't look like it, unfortunately. It's sad to say that, because I like Martin Dubravka, but It just, he doesn't look good. He genuinely doesn't look good. Yet again, could be subject to this apparently head and shoulder injury. But Loris Karius, why not give him a chance? If Dubravka seriously is injured with this shoulder problem, give Karius a chance 110%. I mean, for Dubravka just to come in against Everton, he just looked lifeless. Yes, he made a fair few saves, and against Spurs, I don't actually think he was that bad. He did make 2 mistakes, but he made, what was it, 7, 8, 9 saves he had to make that day. I would give Loris Karius a chance, 110%. But onto the goalkeepers we could bring in January, Aaron Ramsdale. Now, of course, he's being the number 2 at Arsenal right now, and how? I don't actually know. Raya has dropped some absolute stinkers so far against Newcastle. Even that goal that they said should have got ruled out. Who knows? I'm not going to argue on that one. We won the game fair and square. No, but all due respect, look, Raya has not been good for Arsenal. He seriously hasn't. He just looks so clumsy. How Mikel Arteta hasn't dropped him yet. You need to be brutal as a manager, and you'd think he'd be the sort of fake, big man, sort of hard man to drop Raya. I don't know why he hasn't. Of course, his distribution is probably better than Ramsdale's, or it's meant to be. Not recently, it hasn't been. But Ramsdale is number 2 at Arsenal right now. So can we not take sort of a kind of boost at that? Can we not sort of take Arsenal for the advantage? Of course, Mikel Arteta isn't going to give Ramsdale at Newcastle because it's sort of giving it straight to a rival. But in my opinion, if we could get Ramsdale, whether it be in a 6-month loan with, of course, Pope coming back, but then again, Pope's going to be, what is he, 32 years old, so he'll be aging as well. Looks like we're going to need a young goalkeeper in years to come. Get Ramsdale. I mean, he's not even that old himself, is he? I can't remember exactly how old he is, but he's certainly not old for a goalkeeper. He's played for England. He's done pretty decent for Arsenal. Yes, he likes putting it on for the cameras and stuff, but he looks very solid for Arsenal. I would play him 110%. As for the main one, though, Martin Dubravka, not Martin Dubravka, David De Gea, who I would much rather Aaron Ramsdale over David De Gea, in my opinion. Look, I think David De Gea, and I've said this in a previous video about him, he's got so much undeserved stick. Why on earth does David De Gea, he got chased out of Manchester United. I'm going to say it again, that is a horrible club. If them fans get on your back, it goes absolutely toxic. Honestly, that whole club is thick as, but away from them, David De Gea, 31 years old, I believe he is, without a club since the summer. Are we going to take a gamble on him? He's not a horrific keeper, is he? I mean, of course, you're prone to the error at Manchester United, but there hasn't been many great goalkeepers at Man United since, what, Van der Sar, Schmeichel. There seriously hasn't. David De Gea has been there since, what was it, the 2011-12 season, I believe it was. He's been there for a very long time, or he had been there for a very long time. He was prone to the error, just like Andre Onana is now. I believe that's his first name, may be mistaken. But honestly, Onana for Man United right now looks like one of the most daftest and mistake-ridden keepers I've seen in a while. I've never seen a certain player singled out like that at St James's Park in my life. Andre Onana, every single time he got the ball or a goal kick, the crowd were absolutely on his back. It was fantastic. But if you do go to Manchester United, it's one of the most renowned clubs in the world. You're going to get all this sort of weight on your shoulders. You're going to make mistakes, and if you do make mistakes like Harry Maguire, you make mistakes like him, like Sancho, like Anthony, like Rashford, all these players, if you keep making these mistakes, then fans will just get on your back, and it just makes it worse. So David De Gea, he's in a bad club at a bad time. If there's one man to turn a player around, we know who it is, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even have to say his name. But it's AC Milan in 2 days, and a decision needs to be made. Honestly, it's going to be a game where preferably we need to win this game, and hopefully Borussia Dortmund can do us some justice after doing the double over us and getting a win or a draw to get us to that Champions League knockout rounds. Would it be beneficial for Newcastle? Maybe not, but look, it's very good to say that you're in the knockouts of a Champions League with all this going on in the background, and it would be bittersweet to knock PSG out as well. But in my actual opinion, who would I play? Loris Karius or Martin Dubravka? For Dubravka, look, first of all, he's carrying an injury. It should really stop there, in my opinion. I think Karius, who's fit, should be ahead of Dubravka every day of the week because he is fit and Dubravka isn't. Dubravka's conceded 7 goals in the last 2 games. Yet again, it's not all subject to him. That defence was woeful against Spurs. It just has to be said. It was honestly invisible. Spurs were treating us like a training session. I think that's a light to say that as well. They were battering us on the wings. But Loris Karius, I would give him his chance. It's against AC Milan. Look, it is a game where we do need to win. It's a game what we've wanted for so long to progress in the Champions League. We can't just throw it all away now. And some people may be saying, oh, just let we get knocked out. Play Gillespie, play Karius, let we get knocked out. It's beneficial. The knockouts don't actually start till February, I believe. So that's still, what, 2 months' time for players to get back. The majority of our team will be back till then, of course, without long-term ones like Nick Pope. And of course Sandro Tonali. but just give him a run out. I mean, why not? You let me know down below in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Would you rather Loris Karius or Martin Dubravka in goal for AC Milan? It's a one that needs to be made, and it needs to be made correctly. But without further ado, we're going to end the video there, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and get that bell turned on so you never miss a notification, and you're first as well. Thank you very much for watching, people. Without further ado, go and enjoy your day.